What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Salty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American Developmental League of Legends. We have arrived at episode 30, officially esports boomer territory, ready to talk
exactly
about promotion tournament. Oh, yeah, we're on the same page. You know, as always, Hawk. We had a great time at the LCS Finals. Thank you so much to everybody who stopped by and said hello. Got to have a chat with us. It was a ton of fun. We got our live episode out. We talked to Keel, and now we're back here for promotion, which start up today as you see this upon release. My name is Grapes, here to talk about everything, and alongside it, myself is my constant co-host in Hawk. Hawk, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Work was tough, but hey, we got Salty Runback. I'm back in the comfort of my mom's basement. You're in your new apartment,
Yes.
like senior year. That's exciting, man. Yeah, it's a little plain right now, but I know you'll get some wild card drawings, Ban Garen up there in due time.
we need some decorations. Yeah, I have all the logos here. I'm thinking about like putting up all of the different teams that are in the promotion tournament, and then like as soon as one gets eliminated, like rip them off of the shelf.
And I think what I'm hearing is if you're a team and you send Grapes free merch, he'll put it on his wall so everyone will see it while he's casting. That's, I think, what I'm hearing right now.
May or may not be true. Yeah, hit me up the DMs. The address will come out. Super excited for that. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this episode, for this week as a whole. This is the last week of challengers, last week of NA developmental, officially, of the entire 2023 season. It's been a long road. We're here to preview that. We're going to talk to Dragoon of LiT Esports a little bit later, which I'm super excited to do. Shouldn't waste any more time, should we? Let's get right into things.
Yeah, let's dive. Oh, I've been recording on this overlay the whole time. Well, doesn't matter. Unless you want to restart, we can. Everyone's already been looking at the questions, and we'll keep it going.
Yeah, we'll give the viewers a little bit of a preview before we get started. Let's take a look at our headlines for today. Starting off with, of course, the LCS Finals, which just wrapped up, where NRG took a 3-1 victory over Cloud9. We were there witnessing the entire thing, and none of us predicted it. Even though we're like the NA developmental, we're like the Invest in Academy folks. I don't think either of us really predicted that at all. They made it all the way.
Neither of us even predicted them to beat Team Liquid. So the fact that they beat C9 in 4, no less, when pretty much every single person we talked to was like, yeah, Cloud9 is just going to win. Like, no one even gave the winner of lower finals a chance. It was always just Cloud9 and then like whatever loser goes and plays them. Everyone was expecting Saturday to be a better series, which it was, but not in the way that we expected at all. And I think this is amazing for NA talent, especially because on the day, it was so much of the NA talent that showed up. I mean, first of all, I want to give credit to NRG's bot lane, FBI, a deserved player of the series. But Dokla, Contracts, and Palafox all played out of their fucking minds, man. I mean, Palafox in particular, there was a diffy in mid for sure, and it was awesome to watch. Contracts finally getting that title after not being in finals since 2017 spring was just amazing to see. I think this is amazing. I've been saying it all split, but if this split, after all the strikes and everything, the players advocating for themselves here in North America, if this split doesn't change things as far as random imports and making people wake up to the fact that there's talent in this region, nothing will. Because NRG has just gone and won the whole thing. They're our first seed heading into Worlds, and we could not be more proud of them. The entire region is behind them. The fan bases are rallying behind them because of this, too.
And just the players that kind of made it out, I think 4 of the 5 of NRG played in the Academy/Challenger system at some point. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if Ignar played a little bit, because do you remember that split where him and Dreams were like swapping back and forth?
That's
back in, I think it was like 2021. Maybe I'm a little bit wrong on that, but
I don't think Ignar's ever dipped down to Academy. I could be wrong. You could be right.
Okay, well, 4 out of 5 is still a pretty good number.
Still
right?
4 out of 5, and Ignar's been around a while. Like, one veteran that's kind of bounced around a bit, I don't have an issue with. So
yeah, and I mean, these are specifically the topside core, which has been with CLG for the past like 2.5 years. Dokla, Contracts, and Palafox, like these were the superstars of the developmental landscape that we've seen for years. And even though it took them some time to get there, it seems like they all have taken big steps even since they started playing together on CLG/NRG, and kind of goes to show that not only can NA talent, win things, but sometimes you got to give them a little bit of time, like give them a year to gel. Don't immediately drop people, and good things kind of generally happen. I'm very excited for NRG at Worlds now because of these NA players.
I've said this also so many times, actually not too much on this show, but I've believed this for forever, even before I was like a personality in the league scene or whatever. Individual skill matters for sure. However, it doesn't hold a candle to just a team that is a team, and NRG clearly was that. Or they are that. And so, for example, people like to be like, oh, Dokla's like a really mid top lane or whatever, even though like, whatever. I mean, first of all, Doubters like can be damned. He won the whole split. But not only that, like he clearly loves playing with his teammates and his teammates love playing with him, and he works for this NRG roster, and I feel like NA always has this weird fixation with like international success. So I don't want to talk too much about this, but people are like, oh, bin against Dokla, like XD at Worlds, like XD. Dude, go fuck yourself. Like, I don't care. Back in 2018, Licorice bodied Keen in the quarterfinals to get our only semifinals berth in modern day League of Legends for Cloud9, right? Like it just, this shit happens. Like you never know. We could go 0-5, but everyone's still going to cheer for them. This is a really like scattered point, but what I'm trying to say is like, people are so obsessed with like every single player needing to be the best. But you know what? This NRG roster came together when it mattered most, and they said it, and they were kind of joking, but they meant it too. The power of friendship is such a big thing, and teams win this game. And teams are exciting to watch, and North American players, we're the ones to do it. So, that was such a long-winded point, but
definitely like kind of, and adding on to that, like when you look at the other players that came up through NACL, even people that played in finals weekend, like APA, just hopefully we get more stories like that, more stories like APA, and people like for like Tomo or Kenvi, or even Busio and Ayla, who, haven't gotten to that level of success yet. I hope that teams still keep faith in them because, you can see what happens when you do kind of trust in that roster a little bit more and you do believe in NA. And I am excited for the prospects that come. And maybe if NRG do well at Worlds, or even if not, it does mean things kind of are on a good end after a bit of a shaky start in summer.
And the last thing I want to say on this is, two things. One, these players are proving that they're still young, hungry players in Challengers League and below that want to prove themselves and want to play professionally and want to be the best. That's one. And two is, no matter what happens internationally, like, I'll never stop cheering and believing in North American teams, so it doesn't matter, I'm proud of NRG. As I'm a longtime Cloud9 fan. I was actually very happy to see NRG win, despite them beating my favorite team, just because it's a great story. And, I've been casting CBLOL for this year, and at Worlds and at international events, CBLOL is not making waves. They've not made the main group stage since 2015 at Worlds. But the Brazilian fans still unapologetically support their teams, and that should be the same here. And so, NRG, I hope that, at least for me and Grapes, we're behind you, and I think the rest of the region is too.
Yeah, seeing that crowd cheer them on as they hosted that trophy in Prudential Center was unbelievable. Yeah. Hopefully we get more moments like that in the future.
For sure.
Let's move on to the NACL Promotion Tournament, which starts tomorrow as we're recording this today, as this comes out. And one team that we've been talking about a lot out of the 6 that will be competing this week is Mirage Alliance. They, of course, are the #1 seed coming out of the qualifiers. And typically we think, NACL first, NACLQ second. However, a very dominant roster that Mirage Alliance present. Talk, are they the favorite to make it out of all 6 teams that will be competing?
It's just such an interesting question, because Mirage Alliance, for half the split, was not as dominant in qualifiers as we expected. Then for half the split, they were. And then there's also the question of, like, again, how much different is the level of competition between Challengers League proper and Challengers League qualifiers, right? Like, there's a lot that kind of goes into this. We've talked so much about Mirage Alliance on the show. I'm inclined to say yes. Just because if we look at Mirage Alliance, and then maybe we'll talk about this with our next prompt, but in my opinion, Team Fish Taco as the stronger Challengers League team. If we just look at them, like pound for pound, you've got Alorum versus Lunacio, which I think is pretty even. Like maybe Lunacio a little bit more X Factor, but yeah, like I mean, come on, Alorum's the fucking gatekeeper. Actually, I'm kind of excited to see Lunacio play against Alorum. I feel like it's a rite of passage for any top laner that Lunacio somehow got past. So that's one. Rosethorn against Chad, like I consider that to be a wash. Maybe Rosethorn a little bit stronger. Sudsy against Onat, both promoted into the NACL last split, both very strong mids. Then you've got Neo against
Spawn.
Sword? Sorry?
Spawn.
Thank you. Oh my god, I can't.
Sword's on Winthrop.
Yes. Sorry. Spawn. Like Neo against Spawn, two players that I actually consider in a very same tier, like both recently played in LCS. And then you've got role swap support Dardoch against oh my god, I'm blanking again.
Against role swap support NXI.
Oh, it's NXI. Another jungler role swap support.
Yeah.
Again, pretty even. So I when you look down, I consider these teams to be pretty even, but Mirage Alliance, they've been playing League of Legends competitively more recently. So anyway, yeah, I'm very long-winded tonight, but that's a yes from me. I think Mirage Alliance is my favorite.
I think there's also something that comes with just momentum. Think about it this way. Team Fish Taco and Supernova, they're coming down from the NACL, which means they just spent 6-7 weeks getting their asses kicked for better, for worse, like in the nicest way possible. Of course, they competed a lot more than the last place teams, the teams that were in promotion for spring split, like all the CLG, FlyFam, TL First. But they still were down towards the bottom, and Team Fish Taco specifically ended their last week on a 0-6 slide. You have to imagine Mirage Alliance is feeling a little bit more confident as they just won the qualifiers. They just won every single game coming through the NACL queue. So I think that might give them a little bit of advantage. Obviously, it's been a while since the NACL teams have played. I also think the players are just going to be really, really strong in this tournament,
Yeah.
All the way down. Even Sudsy in the mid lane, I think, has had a really good second half to this summer split. I'm excited to watch him against LiT Esports in that first round tomorrow, and then beyond. I think their first matchup after that is going to be Team Fish Taco, actually, so that's going to be a fun spot.
Yeah, and just also to talk about this topic, when we were talking to people at LCS Finals, actually, about how many teams they thought would promote, nobody said 0, and then we were about maybe 2/3 split had 1-1, and then 1/3 split had 2 teams promoting. Everyone that said 1 team promotes said Mirage Alliance, and then either Team Fish Taco or Supernova. But the fact that there are some people that believe that it's Mirage Alliance and somebody else promoting, I think also shows that community sentiment sees Mirage Alliance as this favorite. Because 100% of scenarios had Mirage Alliance. Only about 2/3 of them had TFT/Supernova getting through. So
yeah, I just put out a poll on my Twitter a couple of hours ago asking how many teams are going to actually end up getting promoted, 0, 1, or 2. Right now, at the moment of recording, 0. 20% of people said 0 NACLQ teams promote.
Wow.
48.3% said 1, and 31% said 2. So that's the numbers that we're looking at, community sentiment. Of course, maybe a different sample size as, they're coming from the Twitter of the guy who cast the qualifiers, but it seems like,
But I'm surprised so many people said 0, to be honest with you.
80% of people, I guess, think Mirage is going to make it through, presumably. So I think pretty fair to say they're a favorite.
Yeah, I think it is fair to say that they're the favorite of the whole tournament in a similar way that last split, AOE was considered the favorite of the whole thing, but then Maryville was a very close second, and they showed. So
yeah. Speaking of some of those other NACL teams, let's talk about them really quickly. If, of course, Mirage Alliance is the favorite, that may mean that one of these 2 NACL teams are going to find their way out after just spending 1 split in the league. Which of the 2 teams, Hawk, do you think is safer? I think you alluded to your answer, but if you want to add on a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's TFT. I just think they have a more well-rounded roster. Supernova, they actually, I think, were a lot more competitive than I expected this past split, so I want to give them that credit. And I think they have some great players. In particular, I think Music and Quacker are some studs that will find themselves in a decent spot next split. Especially Music, I think, is really a great talent. And the problem that I have, I just don't think that Supernova individually outclasses any of the other teams enough to make up for their weaknesses, which is just they're very reliant on certain things happening their way to be able to win games. TFT has shown me that they can win in multiple ways, which in and of itself I think is really important when you're playing teams that are going to be very hungry, right, to beat you. They're, if you're playing Supernova, just go top, right? Like, if you're playing TFT, they've got Spawn, they've got Onat, they've even got, like, a Rosethorn who have all shown these carry performances. And I also think the individual skill level on this team is higher. So that is really my thought process there. I still think that Team Fish Taco defends their spot as well. I'm still going to be in the camp of 1-1, even though I think Mirage Alliance is the one to promote. So, yes, they're who I have as the most safe.
So when I first put out my bracket, I made like a bracket just like as soon as the teams got finally locked in. I did have the same alignment as you, Mirage Alliance and Team Fish Taco. I'm a little bit hesitant now thinking about it a little bit more, just because I kind of forgot about it a little bit. But I mean, I mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago, but Team Fish Taco had a really rough end to the split, and they were playing with a sub top laner, and obviously we're not entirely sure why that exactly happened. Lunacia, it seems, will be playing in this tournament, but from what I've heard, has not had a ton of time to scrim with his team in the last month. So with that, combined with kind of the bad juju that surrounded them at the end of the season, in terms of the vibes around Team Fish Taco maybe not as high as some of the other teams. So that is maybe where I'm hesitant to kind of fully back them. I do agree. I like the players top to bottom a little bit more than Supernova. But maybe Supernova are able to pull through a little bit here. My one concern for them is the bottom lane here. I think Sketch was a really great AD carry throughout 2022 and, had his time swapping over to support in the spring. I don't think he's had the greatest split so far alongside Trevor. Looking at some of the stats, his laning hasn't been great. The kill numbers aren't super high. Has put up decent DPM, which is he's around the middle of the pack for that, actually sitting at 8th. So that's, a little bit higher up. But I think overall, if Supernova do want to make it through, not only do their top side have to perform as they have, but I think Sketch needs to prove that he belongs here in Tier 2. And I think with a strong performance, maybe I do favor Supernova a little bit, because Quacker and Music in the top side is a very, very scary, two players, as we said.
Yeah, you are definitely right. Quacker and Music are definitely some big time X factors, and Supernova could shut a lot of people up again. They had to shut people up last split. They could shut up a lot of people again by defending their spot for sure. I think it's so funny that Lunacia didn't have much time to scrim with the team, because I played like an ARAM with him 2 weeks ago. Not like as a duo, like we just got into an ARAM together and we fucking carried. I played Oriana and he played Wukong. Anyway, it's a tangent, but it was really fun. Shout out Lunacia. But I think Supernova could definitely shut a lot of people up. I think the biggest concern that I really have, as you said, about their bot lane and just the team in general, is that Supernova, when they win games, even in Challengers League, they were individually outplaying people on mostly the top side of the map. They were just like kind of getting a big lead and snowballing it based on that. Problem is, I don't think the individual skill level of not just Supernova, but I think the individual skill level of all these teams is very balanced. Like, the Challengers League teams aren't above the qualifier teams as far as what I perceive to be their mechanical skill, especially when you look at top laners like Dragoon and Alorum and Denethor. They are very strong. So,
I mean, if they're able to outplay the NACL players, you don't think that they have a chance of doing that against?
Oh, I'm not saying they can't. Sorry, I should say I don't think that they can't outplay the NACL players. It's just like, it's not like they can consistently rely on that against the qualifier teams when they also couldn't against the Challengers League teams. Is that?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And also, it just feels like things are very up in the air because we haven't seen these teams play in over a month. And
yeah, who knows? Also, maybe Supernova goes Super Saiyan. They've been scrim gods like the last, we have no idea.
Yeah. And, well, yeah, I guess we're going to learn a lot in the next, 2 days. So both Taco and Supernova play on Wednesday against the winners of the qualifier play-in that happened. So that's going to be an exciting one. And then we'll see who makes it from there. Really don't know, but if I had to say which one is safer, I might actually be leaning towards Supernova, which is not something that I was expecting to say earlier.
All right, we're split. I like it.
Move on to our next topic. We are back in school season. I am here in my new apartment at college for my last year. Another school that is gone back in session is Winthrop University, which started classes last week. Their players are going to be participating in the promotion tournament, and they will be playing out of their esports lab. They are the only team, I believe, that will be participating in this tournament in person. Hawk, do you think that this gives them an advantage of any sense?
This is such an interesting question. No, I don't know. Playing in person, actually, I find to be, as long as like your esports like room setup or whatever is good, is actually really helpful for like team chemistry and stuff like that. When we got the esports room at Elon back when I was there, that made a big difference for our very bad League of Legends team, but we got better. And so I think that actually does make a difference. However, speaking from a year and a half of incredibly stressful experience with this, trying to keep a esports schedule when you're in college and trying to balance college life with esports life, it's fucking hard, man. Especially like moving back in and like start of the year, like that is a lot of stress. That's a lot of new change. Some of these players, it's their first time at Winthrop, first semester. Like Trickster has not been there. Yeah. So that's tough. So I actually might even consider this a disadvantage, especially if you're playing in person in the esports room or whatever. Like it's a setup you're not necessarily used to yet. If you've not played there much, like there's a lot of factors at play. But I think the biggest thing for me is like the schedule is just like. I mean, I remember skipping classes, Grapes, for our first like Proving Grounds broadcasts when they were on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Oh, yeah.
And over the summer, rushing home from my internship across LA to try to like set up and get to call time a half hour late. Like it's tough and it really takes a toll and it can affect your performance a lot. So I think I actually would consider this to maybe be a disadvantage for Winthrop. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. That's an interesting take. I don't think that many people would have that take. But, as somebody who was a part of CELO, a part of collegiate esports on that side of things, definitely having that perspective is super interesting. I just remember, me playing at the PC Bang with my friends, and I feel like a god with that setup, with the headphones on, talking to each other, fist bumping each other. Like, that's so much fun.
There is definitely vibes to feed off of. Yeah.
The difference between a program like Elon and Winthrop though is the fact that Winthrop is a varsity program. So
not the Elon to Winthrop comparison.
No, they like they're a varsity program. Those guys get full rides to be there. They're treated like athletes. So in a way, maybe there's a little bit more flexibility there. But I do agree, especially for those newcomers, Trickster and Sword. We'll see. Maybe that's something we get to ask them if they do win a series in a bit of an interview.
I totally understand the point you're getting at, by the way. I just thought that was so funny comparing Winthrop League of Legends, one of the premier programs in the country, with like Elon Club Esports, average Elo of like Platinum 3. Okay,
Winthrop is a good school in college. Yeah. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I meant. Not what
Dude,
I
meant. I could go on so many tangents about my failures to try to legitimize both my personal esports career more with my university and esports as a whole. All failures. I'm not going to, but it's very frustrating.
It's also the second week of classes, and let's be real. There's nothing going on in this.
That's true. No projects, no big exams.
So hopefully for them,
right?
They have to push an assignment
syllabus week
aside. Yeah, they'll be chilling for the most part. And, I also remember talking to Mobility and Denethor. Mobility specifically, he said him and Denethor would always grind at the facility for Winthrop. So I'm hoping that that's a good sign for things. But it is like a cool little, extra narrative point that we can throw in there as we start off this event, which I'm excited for.
It is interesting. I feel like it, honestly, realistically, for these players, it's probably an advantage. Just when I think about my experience trying to make esports and college work together, it's
definitely
tough. But yeah, it's probably an advantage. It is just an interesting conversation to have. I think it's funny. And also one more added bonus as well. It's happening during the week, so no hangovers from any big parties.
Damn.
No.
Yeah, they got that.
No
out
one's
of the way
going out to the frat the night before.
Oh man, the esports frat at a CELO
I never
college.
once went to a party with my esports friends at school, so you know.
Yeah, maybe they're we could talk about these stories with them maybe if they win. I'm excited to get into the nitty-gritty. Hopefully I get a
Yes.
series where I get to
Yes.
interview one of the players. That'll be fun.
Uh,
Our last topic of the headlines before we move on to our interview with LiT Esports' Dragoon is about another thing that happened at the LCS Finals where Disguised Toast, noted founder of the famous esports organization Disguise, which won the NACL.
in case you didn't know who he is, noted founder of this esports team.
He announced a event that is going to be happening in September, which I'm very excited about. A streamer slash semi-pro slash professional mini tournament that will be going on throughout the month. Teams are going to be comprised of some popular league streamers as well as one NACL player and one LCS player. Hawk, if we got to send our best representatives to represent the challenger scene, which players are you sending up? Not just for level of play. You also got to think this is a content operation, so we need to send our best content people in as well.
That's a good point. Okay, some names that have immediately come to mind for me when I heard this is like I'm thinking my immediate thought. Honestly, I'll have to think more about like the content memers and stuff, but my immediate thought as far as like who should go are some of our young guns. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily just the best players, but the best players that are very hungry and unproven at to general audiences. You know, like most people probably know who Fake God is, and it's less exciting, I think, for Fake God to go for as good as he is as someone like Surdy, who could really prove himself for a big audience. Masu is another one, young. Those are the kind of players that immediately jump to my mind. Bradley, those are the ones that come to my mind. I'm not sure if you have any others.
Those are all good options. I was actually thinking about every single one of those that you actually just brought
up. There we go.
Up,
Okay, perfect.
I think people from Disguise are definitely going to get a big look because it is.
I hope it's not just for Disguise players, though. Like, that would be kind of cringe, I think. I mean, not that they... not for the players themselves. Just I would like to see different team representation, maybe on the part of Disguised Toast.
Yeah.
But
if I had to send one representative from DSG, it would either be Zazel for his shot calling and leadership and everything, or Tomio, because that guy would be a fucking meme lord on
Tomio is a pretty good Tomio is a pretty good option.
I really like Bradley as well. Yeah. I do like that one that you brought up.
Bradley is a great. He's good on camera and stuff too. If you're talking about show matches, probably getting these people on mic and everything, Bradley's really good to talk to, so he would probably represent well.
Yeah. My last wild card I'll throw in there is from Wildcard in Zamudo, because that guy would just whip out
he'd play Draven top,
Soraka top lane, and just ruin everybody's game.
That's not a bad shout, honestly. Zamudo is not a bad pick. I kind of like that.
Because he's great personality as well. Got to pick up with LS for a little bit, and comes back and just
plays
whips out
the
most heinous stuff.
And Zamudo is very chill and kind of shy too, which you would not expect for the guy that is willing to slam down Draven top. So it's awesome. Zamudo's great. That's a good. Yeah, we should send Zamudo.
If you are a streamer that is watching Salty Runback, of course, we have tons of them. Maybe.
Oh yeah. Hey, Skara. You listening?
That's gonna do it for our headlines for this week. I'm super excited for the promotion tournament, and speaking of, we're gonna get on over to talking to one of the players that'll be playing in the promotion tournament, Dragoon, over on LiT Esports. We're here with a very special guest, LiT Esports Dragoon, the top laner who has been around for a while, making back-to-back promotion relegation tournaments. Dragoon, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing? How's everyone doing today?
Doing good. Better now that you're here, I would say, because we've been trying to talk to you all split actually, and finally we've been able to.
We found a time that worked out for all of us, which is good.
And we're excited because it's promotion time, man. And I feel like, to give the people maybe a little taste of what's to come in this interview, Grapes and I have been really curious. You and Kisno both promoted with Supernova. Do you guys meme about that? How you're now in the same position that you were in last split? What's it been like playing with him the last couple splits?
Oh, we definitely meme it up a lot. Like it's not just me and Kizno that meme up like being supernova or promoting in, or even like I'm not actually sure how the bracket looks off the top of my head. I don't know if it's possible to be like the ones who directly relegate them. But if that happens, like how crazy is that? Like that'd be so funny actually. That'd just be the most funny timeline. But
So if you both win out, you can maybe knock them down. So there's situations where it happens.
yeah, I'm sure there is.
That'd be
I'm sure
really.
there is.
That would be funny. That's the dankest timeline, I think.
Now,
It's
if you
so
guys
funny.
win your first series, your first matchups against Taco, have you sent any messages to Onat or anything like that? Because
I am
like
not recently,
he's
but I'm sure as the match
around
comes
there.
closer and closer, I'm sure there'll be a bit more DMs. You know,
You're gonna
it'll
dunk
probably be
your
friendly rivalry at the most. Like I feel like me and Onat have always had like a very like homely type of like friendship.
right.
There's always like banter, but like I don't know. I feel like I've had a lot of heart to hearts with them compared to some like on SN. I probably had most heart to hearts with them. Like gamer time. It's 3 a.m. You're like just playing solo queue, or you're just like doing nothing and just talking. Like I'm sure every single person watching this podcast
Oh
knows what
yeah.
I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like I probably had the most amount of those with Onat last split. So, it's kind of like it's just a good friendship. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that there'll be no bad blood in case I do a little bit of relegating.
Dude, the storylines just kind of write themselves. There's the fact that everyone kind of like interacts with each other in their own way. The supernova relationships, like half the people on Mirage were on Taco last year. Like if they played, then it's like a whole story. There's it's a very nice drama. I'm very excited to get underway. But let's talk about you for a little bit. You've been around for a few years now. What was your kind of first experience in amateur and playing competitive league like? How did you discover the space? Because now kind of like a established veteran, which is cool.
Right. I'd say my first experiences with amateur were like very like just doing it for fun. Like when I first got high elo, I was a Darius one trick. I'm sure everybody knows, right?
What?
Yeah,
No.
we knew.
Really?
Oh, what? I didn't know that.
That's crazy.
Holy shit, who would have
That plays
guessed?
Darius.
And I had like no aspirations to play comp when I was first in high elo, right? Like to me at first, I'm sure you guys like know that like I used to stream a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I'm actually partnered on Twitch. Even though I don't stream anymore, I just don't enjoy it as much anymore. I'm back to school. I mean, maybe I'll go back into it. I'll like talk about that a bit later I'm sure I'll get like a chance to talk about that a bit more in depth later. But I don't know. I remember just like a random friend. I still like I don't talk to him like constantly today, but like I'm still keeping like contact with him. He's just like, "Yo, want to just play like top lane?" Like we're just playing like an amateur tourney. Like you can get like $40, bro. I'm like, holy shit, bro. I was like, I don't even remember how old I was because I was high elo and didn't care about comp for like at least like 2 years or maybe like a year and a half, honestly. So like I don't know, when I was like 15 to 17, I was just like playing like for fun. Like I didn't actually think I could do anything with League at that time. Maybe if I took it more seriously then, maybe stuff would be a little bit different now, but I just didn't have that mindset at the time because I streamed more. I enjoyed streaming more at the time. And I don't know, I didn't really have like the competitive passion at the time. The thing that really put my like foot forward into like playing for a competitive drive was Dig Mirage, if you guys can remember that.
Oh yeah.
Which that shit was a horrible experience. I'm just gonna be real. But but dude, I'll get all into that, man. I will.
We can go
Okay,
into that. Yeah.
that holistically as a year was pretty like horrible. I'm not gonna lie, but it did ignite my passion for League. So I do appreciate what it did for me long term in terms of like viewing League. But I'm pretty sure whenever I go on new teams and like people like ask or like the topic of like Dig Mirage comes into play, I always remember I had 9 or 10 different teammates that entire year on an LCS affiliated team. And it was like one of the first ones. I think it was the second. I think
Yeah. It was like 100 and then
it was a
them.
split or 2 splits following 100 100 Next. I think is what it was called at the time.
Yep.
The beginning roster was me, Hyami. My Hyami's my goat. Shout out. He's a baker now.
Yeah.
He makes
Making some bread
Wow.
up there in Canada.
He's my goat. DNA. Trevor and Meech. I'm sure you guys know Trevor and Meech. So we had Proving Grounds, but we made it to Proving Grounds, which was the format back then, and I don't think we went super far. I think we took a game off of an academy team, but we did not win a series.
Yeah, I remember
Maybe
you
I'm
guys were like one of the
misremembering.
last teams in.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I
16
remember we
seed.
got in by like a stroke of luck. I do remember that we had to sub at some point on that team. I'm not sure like where, like the timeline is so muddy for me, but we subbed in Effie Hunter, the Nunu player.
Oh, I remember this.
Nunu
Yeah.
Ivern.
Mm-hmm.
And we went against Anu, and Anu at the time they literally ended up winning like Proving Grounds. Like they won academy as amateur. It was
Yeah, that team was.
I think
that team was
actually
small.
no, actually I think this was the first split. I don't know how far they went. This was
No,
the
that was it. That was it.
I don't think did I go against Viper?
Yes,
Actually,
the
I remember.
split
I
after
remember.
that, yeah, they
We-
all went
we
to
blind-
Immortals and stuff.
We were on game 3, and we were like, "What the hell did we do in draft, guys?" Like, we won our last game off of like randomly winning a team fight at like 30 minutes. Like, just being honest, like, I mean, they were better. Like, it is what it is. I mean, the new team was kind of like goated beyond belief, right? I remember we just won to Darius Nunu, and they just did not know what to do. They did not know what to do. I remember Viper played Aatrox in the Darius, which is just like, at the time, like Aatrox just wasn't that good. And obviously I'm a Darius player, and we just beat them. Like it was so funny. I distinctly remember that, and that's probably like my favorite series on Dig Mirage. Anyways, after that, Trevor and Meech get banned for boosting, which sucks. I'm not gonna say that, like, guys. If I'm just gonna be real, if you have interest in the amateur space and you condemn people for boosting, like, just gonna be real, guys. Boosting is a little prevalent in the amateur community, even the academy community.
There was the
know?
the screenshots of like the
We've seen some
Discord that got leaked like a week ago,
it's like,
and
yeah, people
nothing
look
really
at it and they're like,
happened. Yeah,
What?
Yeah,
Huh?
they're like,
Oh my god.
people boost.
I'm pretty sure it was Dardoch
What?
that tweeted basically the same thing you're saying now, where he's like, yeah, like everyone boosts because we don't get paid shit, like, and and I was like, all right, respect.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure even when like it was 10 academy LCS teams, like some players on academy LCS teams still just boosted because they just wanted to, or maybe they just, I don't know, maybe they were on the lower end. I do know I wouldn't like name drop because I mean I feel like
Yeah, we don't need to get anyone.
Yeah,
banned
we
here.
yeah.
like, there's
Whether
no
we
need-
agree with it or not. it's fine.
Yeah,
We
I
don't-
mean, like, I see no ill in it because it just is like you just got to do what you got to do. Maybe you can look down on it a bit more if like you were in academy like 2 years ago, because maybe there's not as much of a like. I mean, I think then you just get most teams were situated in LA, so like there wasn't like a dire need to. But for the case of like Trevor and Meech, like they kind of like had the boost if they like wanted to like spend that much time on League. They get banned for boosting like 2 or 3 days before lock-in. And during this, this is like the weird part. We replaced Hyami, but I didn't know we were replacing Hyami.
Yeah, because
Like
Cyber
I
came
woke
in,
up.
right?
No,
Right.
what literally happened was I woke up, or no, it was like the evening, the day before they got banned. Hyami was like booted, and I was like, what? I was like, huh? I was like friends with him before the team, so like I probably like he was probably the person I was like closest to on the team. He got booted. I'm like, what? No one like asked me for my opinion for this. The day after, like management comes like to us, right? And they're like, yeah, your bot lane kind of just got banned. And it's like 2 days before lock-in. So it's like we're just scrambling for like random players, right? Or like people who are like willing to play. And it's all like very last minute. The entire team synergy is gone. And when we felt like very good off the end of that proving ground split, because we barely made it into proving grounds, and we felt like we played like well enough, right? And then now we just have like random players. Well, like I don't like nothing to those players that played. It's just like you had 2-3 days before lock-in. It's just like it was an emergency sub type of situation, right? that doesn't work out just because there were last minute subs and a lot like coaches, etc., just didn't think they were playing well enough. So we substituted them again, right? And
Oh
eventually
my, I
we
forgot
came
about that.
across. So our final team was Cyber, Light, Pulse, and Cow. And some of you guys might remember Cow from, I think, Team Liquid Academy. I
Yep.
think Johnson was maybe his other IGN. That guy was a goat. I'm not gonna lie. Like, people were so mental boom off that team, and like understandably so. Like, I the only person that I knew the entire year was my mid laner, DNA, right? Everyone else was just getting like swapped in and out, and then like only to the last proving grounds did we like actually have like a team for like more than like 3 weeks. That was like a super miserable experience because it was affiliated with an LCS team. Like, that like honestly is like the average amateur experience, right? But it's like but it's like I feel like I dedicated more that year just to be given like an average amateur experience when like, you know, when they wanted me on, it was like very like, yo, you're gonna give you the resources. There's gonna be like stability here. This is like growth. This is like long term. And then it just didn't work out. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
So, if you want to briefly, like, we actually had a question here about your thoughts on LCS teams getting into like the tier 3 semi-pro sort of space. So, yeah, you talked about it a little bit, like as far as, you know, you thought that certain things would happen. Do you want to talk more about your thoughts on what that means? Because obviously you've not played on an LCS partner org since then. So I don't know if that was intentional or what, but
Um, I definitely like I tried out for some others, like CLG Faith when it was a thing. And I didn't make it onto that one, just the tryouts. I just didn't make it. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. The rationale I got for not getting on it was like the weirdest thing ever. Actually, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna talk about this. They literally said that unfortunate scheduling, you didn't go against the other candidate we had in mind, so we just took them.
Hmm.
Like okay, person they went with on the very first split, you know, Bijani. I think he's good. I have no ill will. I think Bijani is good, right? But
Yeah.
in the tryouts, I played 8 games. I didn't play a single game versus him. And then
Yeah.
like I was just like, okay. I mean, I guess. And then I like, you know, I like went to their management after I was declined. I'm like, could I get like more insight on like why I was declined? I just because the surface level reason I got was like very like PR, I guess. You know, I just
Yeah.
I
wanted
feel
to
like
talk to someone
you know, it's
in person.
valid, like after any job interview, if you will, to say like, hey,
Yeah,
like how could I improve and everything. That's reasonable.
yeah, and I just thought it was like unfair from my perspective that the person who was picked was somebody I never went against. Because I mean, if that was their like next biggest candidate in mind, you know, at least I would like try to go against them. Nope, it was just scheduling. Unlucky. They literally said, "Oh, maybe the scheduling was different.
Ah.
Maybe like things would have gone out differently." I was like, "Wow, that kind of sucks." Maybe that's like a prime like amateur experience. So like I'm not like that resentful against it. Like it just is what it is. But I just thought that was like funny. Like it just like it was like okay, cool.
Did you get a little bit of satisfaction relegating them later in the split off of that, or
Oh yeah, but like they were like last dance at that point.
right?
Like I heard that like team like completely like mental boomed by that point. Like I wasn't
I
really
heard. Yeah.
demoting
They.
CLG Faith. I was just demoting like 5 people who were just playing because like they were half obligated to,
Right.
you know.
No, that makes sense.
Which honestly, like thinking about that run on SN was like very like sketchy because we almost lost to them. Well, we beat them 2-1, right? And then we went on to beat Taco, right, to
Yep.
promote. And we like low key stomped Taco. Like there was a lot of like game defining moments. I had like an Olaf play, for example, in like game 2. That was like pretty momentum.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it like drive the momentum of the series, in my opinion, just because I think it like completely won game 2. I mean, actually, I kind of have the clip. I don't even know if I could like show it. Like, I mean, like I think I tweeted it a long time ago. Maybe I can find that tweet I don't know.
Yeah, send it to
Yeah,
us
if
and
you
we'll put
can
it
send
we'll
us
put
the
it in
clip.
post production.
Yeah.
Good try.
I'm looking. Oh fuck! I grieve so hard.
Back up. Fight it.
We're gone, kill. Okay.
Does Victor have flash?
Nope.
Not sure.
I killed Victor.
Nice,
keep playing, keep
I killed the Felios.
Time.
I can shield you.
Holy fuck. Dragoon.
Let's go!
Man.
You
Thank
saved
God we
me,
picked
bro.
Olaf. Bro.
Holy shit! They need a
I'm
Van
so
Olaf,
sorry.
I think.
Right. It's fine.
It's fine. We baron into base
Yeah.
dragon. Baron into base dragon.
Half the zone.
I have it like saved on my desktop because like
that was
if they're on
perfectly.
comms,
That's the
like,
one that you
yeah.
send to GMs when they're like, all right, like I'm trying out for your team. You send them that, and you're like, look at this.
I always remember this play like being so funny because I like go in because I'm like, wow, this situation looks so insane for Olaf. I ask if Victor has flash, and they say no, and he flashes away from me.
That happens
always
to the best of
remember
us, you know.
Oh, been there.
Um,
Yeah.
I also have like the I put both of these on Twitter. I have another one that's just like us winning game 3. I'll
Yeah.
put that one too.
I mean, if you don't mind, we could talk about that a little bit because
Yeah.
you know, in 2022, you are on some pretty hyped up rosters. You won some tournaments, finished second place in some tournaments. Supernova seemed like you guys were always just a little bit short, and there was all the controversy, like they went quarterfinals and then they promoted in or they made the promotion tournament. It seemed like there was definitely like a lot of doubt about how you guys were actually going to do going into that event. What was it like? Kind of going through that. There was some roster changes as well, and then kind of making it through into the NACL.
I'd say the doubt was kind of fair from like I'm gonna just say like the very like cringe team thing where like scrims went differently, which they actually did. Like I feel like people did underrate us, but if you were just going by like a results based like perception of us, like I think it's pretty fair for people to really put us as like the underdogs for the promotion tournament. Like no one expected us to promote. I think that's like just from like an objective standpoint, I think it's pretty fair. I think we squeezed through a lot of the qualifiers by going against the easier teams just by the seeding. Like we went against Team Ambition a lot, right?
Yep.
I mean, the easiest example is like I have Chris for messages on my team, right? And like
He was always mad about that. I
he's always
remember.
mad. They just had to go through the MU gauntlet like 50 times, and we went through the TA gauntlet like 50 times, right? It's just difference, and it's just like a seeding thing. I mean, were we seated higher than LiT? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Honestly.
You were.
So I
You
mean, I
seated
guess
higher
maybe
than
you
that.
could say it had
lower
to
than
do-
native though. Lower than native.
Yeah, but what was Native's run? Was Native's run harder than us?
They had to play
yeah, 'cause
Taco and then they had to play
because
Maryville.
native had
in
Taco in
quarters.
quarterfinals in qualifier 1, and then Maryville in quarterfinals in qualifier 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I think qualifier 2 was okay. Like they had to go against the MU gauntlet, but wasn't it because they dropped games versus?
It's because
no, it's 'cause MU
Maryville
dropped
dropped games.
Oh, oh my God! I
Maryville
remember
went
that.
3
That's
and 2
so
in
cringe.
the
That's
OQ
so
somehow.
cringe. That's
Yeah.
so cringe. That's so cringe. So from like that perspective, like we like weaseled our way through, but that's because like we had a big rut, like at the beginning of the second qualifier, when we brought on Kisno, because Hyper left to play for FlyFam. Kisno was like, he was just very newbie at that point. Like I'm just being like blunt. So there's a very big adjustment period because Hyper and Kisno, like they had completely different styles at the time. Yeah, if Kisno was like really comfortable on his Kindred, it would be like kind of similar, but there was just a very, very big like experience gap, right? Like Hyper played on Academy for like a year on TSM, right? And I think Kisno only played his first split on, I don't remember what team, but he played his first split like the previous qualifier, I think, like before we brought him on. So there was like a lot of like doubt within the team going into the second qualifier on whether we would even get into promotion tournament, right? I mean, we had to play versus Taco with Kisno subbed in like a day before because FlyFlame took him on the very first qualifier, which is why like I think our perception off the first OQ was kind of like, I mean, it's just like well, our player just got like yoinked in the middle
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
the
You did beat Team Ambition
playoffs.
with Kisno, so that was.
I
that
know,
was
which
good.
was I was like, wow, like like morale was kind of up at that point because you're like, all things considered, we did well for our first OQ. But going into the second OQ, we went into a rut, and I think it was pretty tilting for the team, and it definitely showed off in like playoffs. But the weird thing is, I feel like our scrim results versus a lot of the higher teams were just good. I won't say anything in versus native because our scrims versus native were like the most like degenerative, like definition of amateur scrims ever. Like 47 kills at like 7 minutes somehow. Like it was like clown fiesta. But then
It's like
we
that, like the Winthrop series happened last week.
yeah.
Same thing.
But we'd scrim like some of the other like better teams, right? Like Taco or something like that, and like our records versus them were like not bad. Like they were like good. I think we were like positive versus Taco, I think. In scrims at least. And yeah, some teams are like completely different in scrims versus like match days. That is like a thing for sure. But it was I think the perception of us being underdogs or not being very good was like fair by other players or casters or the community in general. I just think that we were able to like show up where it mattered because like some scrims versus Taco looked like our playoffs versus them. Maybe it'd be a little bit faster because games are always slower when they're official match days. But like we'd have some 5 blocks versus them where like we 3-2 them or like we 3-1 them, and then like yeah, that's the last time you saw an amateur team actually play 5 games. Yeah, it's always
That's true.
5-game block, and then it's like after the 4th game, it's like guys, let's cancel.
Guys, I gotta go.
Like that's
Yeah.
just so cliche. Like what we did to Taco was not like something that we like. It's not like every scrim versus them we were getting crushed, or like we were getting crushed versus like MU and all the other like big dog teams, right? Or the other teams in the relegation tournament. Like internally, we were like we felt like we could win. Like there was a good chance. It wasn't like what the hell just happened today? Like it's not like I went to bed and was like, huh? Like I mean, okay, it still felt pretty surreal at the time, but like it's not like I was playing through the series and I'm like, I can't believe we're winning.
Right.
It's just like, fuck yeah, we're winning.
So now probably comes like the least fun part of this interview, but it's probably something that's been on a lot of people's minds. And it is, take us through your experience with promoting, giving this amazing interview on the Challengers League broadcast about having, finally done it, which was definitely a huge milestone for your career. Everyone's talking about how awesome promotion is, and everything changes, right, in the space. So take us from that moment, you've won, you've promoted, to now LiT Esports. What was that off-season journey like? Because, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't easy. And I know Grapes and I are at CLOL in Los Angeles, and we were talking a lot about this because that's when the roster announcements were coming out, and we had opinions about all that. So we're curious to hear it from you.
Okay, so if you have any like interjecting questions, you feel free to like cut me off if you just want to like probe something further or something. So I will say that like interview, I'm sure everybody can like understand like it's just you're kind of just like on the feel good chemicals, right? Like,
yeah.
Totally.
No, that interview was awesome.
I know that interview, dude. I don't even know. I don't even remember like cognitively thinking about anything I was saying. I was just saying stuff. Like, it was a stream of consciousness. It was a stream of consciousness. I was just speaking. Like I was speaking from the heart.
Yeah,
it's just
as you should.
Like, it was so. It honestly just was depressing seeing the week after realizing that the way that they were changing the format. Well, first, Azog wasn't playing promotion. It was just really hard for him to do it. Like he graduated with his master's from MU. Like then, like
yeah,
it was time for him to get a 9 to 5. Like it just it was time for him to get a 9 to 5. SN just wasn't paying enough. We were trying to go through the off season, trying to figure out ways to like make it like realistic because no one is playing NACL and going to like the only people who are doing that is MU, right? Where they're going to school and still playing NACL.
Mm-hmm.
But one, they they changed the service to what's it called, to Chicago, right? So that's a big boon to them. It's also like that just has so much more infrastructure than anything else, and it's like it's so much easier to schedule school around and other obligations when it is literally like MU.
Yeah, it's like
And
a
MU
part
is
of
like
the
a gold
program.
standard for this, right? Like, yes, there are other teams that are good at CLL, right? Like, I think last, I don't remember the specific college, but I know the CLL winners weren't MU last.
UST, yeah.
It was
yeah.
UST, right?
You've also got Winthrop in promotion right now as well.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, some other people are trying to replicate like what MU has like they have been the standard, but you're seeing these other teams kind of crawl up and get on the same level. But for like the majority of like people, if you're not like at one of those, I mean, okay, if you weren't at MU, like it was just not realistic to really do NACL and just ignore everything else in life, right? Like,
So
Aza cannot sit down and after getting his master's, right, and just be like, not look for a job, And then he got a job in the off season. He's like, guys, like it's just not like I could play, but I'm coming home from a 9 to 5 and then doing scrims. Oh, NACL matches are in the middle of the day. Oh, that's rough. Like.
So was the original plan for the whole roster to kind of stay together going into summer? Was that like your goal and the rest?
That
of the
was
team's
like
goal?
the attempted goal, right? It's like one of those things where you're going through the season and you're like slowly realizing it's like. Like we had conversations before the promotion tournament. It's like, guys, are we even like playing together if we promote? It's like, I don't know, but like, who cares? Let's just win first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because it was a summer split, right? Like I would be able to play at the time. It's just like, Chuki's didn't want to play because he goes to Winthrop, and like they changed the servers. So during summer, he would have played on like 70 or 80 ping or something like that, because he wasn't at Winthrop at the summer.
Yep.
And then when we realized like the team was like, one, our bot lane was probably just gone, and then two, SN is just not getting the money at the time. It just wasn't realistic. Like, okay, everyone knows like SN was not the best at handling money the entire split. Like, I did not see more than $100 until like after promotion, and that's after months of playing, right?
Yep.
Like that standard is just not real. Like anybody in the off season after that, it's not like standing in good faith. Like, oh, if they promise they'll pay, like, yeah, I'll just play NACL and hope I'll get the money. Like, obviously, no one is doing that. So, Onap, for example, he just decided to go play on what's it called? I'm blanking.
TFT?
Yeah.
Yes, on TFT. I don't like. I just forgot the name for a second because it was just literally his friends.
Yep.
But like he just pitched like it was Lunacia and NXI. I think are like really close friends with them, and they just like banded together, and then they got some other pieces and they pitched to TFT, and they're like, oh, sure. And there's like, okay, well, I didn't take it like it didn't really rub me the wrong way, really. It was just kind of like.
Yeah,
like,
and it's just
like
one
it's
after
just like
another.
our options at that point were just like, okay, well, for him it's just like I could maybe play NACL just because it's summer and I could, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for both of us, it's like we're just doing it for fun or like just out of passion. So he just went with his friends and he went and joined that team because they needed a mid laner, which is fair. So unfortunately, that just led the team to being like me and Kisno, and then Onet is gone to play with his friends, which again, no ill will at all. I love Onet. And then my bot lane just can't play just because Azog has a job and Chuki's is close to Azog, so Azog leaving is kind of like he doesn't really want to play. And again, they changed the server, so he'd be playing on 70-80 ping, and he didn't really want to go with deal with that while playing on Winthrop. And I'm pretty sure he's like super happy at Winthrop. Yeah. I love Charles or Chuki's. So it's like I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs, and on top of that, like I guess okay, I guess this is kind of like an awkward part. So the team was so we were thinking about just playing with Onat, me, and Kisno, right? And maybe we play with Charles if we can't find another support. But Onat didn't really want to play with Kisno for another split, which this is where it's really awkward. SN. So at a point, I was the only person left on SN. Kizno, Onat, Azog, and Chukis were all like gone. Like,
Wow.
Huh.
like, or like they didn't have the intent to play. Like Kizno was actually just like, he was like kicked, right? Onat already committed to TFT, and technically Azog and Chukis could play if they wanted to, but it's like, I'm not making this guy come home from a 9 to 5 and then scrim,
Right.
and then like what, like even then, like if he has a 9 to 5, he couldn't even play NACL matches. It wasn't a thing, right? Or I mean, actually, I don't really know the schedule.
Yeah, you play
Right,
on the
NACL?
weekends, but still, it's a lot of time.
It's-
I mean,
it's-
Yeah, I mean,
just a
regardless,
lot,
I wasn't
yeah.
expecting someone with a job to play NACL. That's just not real. So I was just sitting there. I'm like, wow, I'm the only person on this team, and I was like, what? Like, what's going on? And then on top of that, NACL just imploded. Well,
oh yeah, that too.
like as in like the academy teams all dipped, and then it's just like you're sitting there and you're just like, what is the actual route to like pro anymore, right? I mean, like I was already at the time was like, realistically, I'm probably not getting like a shot at this point, just because I don't know, like ageism, stuff like that. Even though I think at the beginning of that year, I mean, even at the end of 2021, when I won Scouting Grounds on Team Air, like, dude, I thought it was so. Actually, you know what? No, we're going in a time machine back. Okay, I thought it was the most illegal thing ever for me to win Scouting Grounds on that team and not get picked up that split. I thought it was so cringe that Gamsu got a spot. I thought it was so cringe. I thought it was the most cringe thing I've ever seen and experienced in amateur. Okay, we played those games in scrims, where all the coaches watched, because there was it was internal, right? Like coaches watched, they saw all the games. Maybe not every coach was there for every single game, right? Like sometimes, like for example, we had C9 on our staff, and Max Waldo came like once, for example, and for the most part, outside that, it was just Westrice the entire time. Some coaches would come in and out. Dude, I swear that entire time I was like, okay, I won't say I was like hard gapping everybody, but I thought it was pretty obvious that I was like probably the best top laner there, or like I was like top 2, right? So like to me, it was just like kind of sad to get Gamsu picked over me at that time. But I'm like, okay, whatever. It was 100 Thieves at the time, and they have Sniper, right? I still would have liked to play split. That still would have been fine. Like I don't mind. It's still like an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
But I could understand, Gamsu's they're probably viewed as Gamsu's just temporary. They always want Sniper going up, which is fair. Whatever. Still cringe. I don't care what anybody says. It's still cringe. I still think I don't think there's any point that. Okay, so at the end of 2022, I felt like I deserved an NACL spot from the get-go when they were making the teams, right? But I never felt more at any other point that I deserved a shot in academy than at the end of 2021. I thought I was very sad. I contemplated not playing. Like I contemplated going back to school at that point, but I kind of just got brought back, just because I played on no team, right? A lot of my close friends were playing on there, and it was just kind of like very last minute. Like it was like the day of like signups, pretty much, and we were on Discord call like super late.
Legendary team.
Just legend, like it just happened.
man,
like,
I
it
missed
just
that team.
happened, and I was like, oh okay. I mean, sure, why
I
not?
feel like, sorry, this is so tangential. I feel like this is when people talk about like rock music or something. They're like, yeah, we were just hanging out late one night and magic happened. That's no team right here.
Pretty much. I love playing on that team then. Which is kind of sad. We almost beat C9 on no team, if you remember.
It's a
Or
great
actually,
team.
Yeah.
no. Was that on
You
no team,
you
or
had
was
you
that-
had some really close
I mean,
series.
just upsetting 100 next was viewed as a huge upset back then too. That was
Oh
fucking
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
I remember that. The other one was when it was kind of like the same like core, but later on when it was Cincy Fear.
Yep.
We almost beat C9. If you guys remember those games, I actually think those two are the saddest competitive games
No,
I've
yeah,
played.
I remember I
Those
was
were
watching
so
those.
sad. Both of those games, we had the ball was in our court. Like both those games.
I feel like
Oh,
both
it was so
both
sad.
series you guys lost. Like you almost won.
In
I
the proving
remember.
grounds, yeah. I
Yeah.
I think the C9 one was like very like it was sad the way we lost because I think game 1 we unironically had like an 8K gold lead. Game 2 we had like a 5K gold lead. Like we had Nash at times. Like the ball was in our court and like we just couldn't
Yeah.
close. It was so sad. It was so sad.
The biggest thing I remember from that, if it's okay if we kind of move on a little bit, is that you guys kind of were on a downturn again with Fear. You got like quarterfinals in the second qualifier, and then went on that like almost crazy run with Fear, and kind of going back to now this split on Lit. Like you guys have some new pieces coming in, like your bot lane, and you know, looked a little kind of shaky throughout the second qualifier, but seemingly the same story over and over again where you're able to make this magic happen. How do you feel about this roster going into this tournament?
I mean, it's the same feeling as I had on like SN. Like we already won. Okay. I mean, like, yeah, like I don't know. I just think about it and it's just, I'm very like it is what it is kind of. I'm definitely okay, I'm going to be real. I'm probably like less passionate than I was on SN just because the overall scene is just like much more depressing for the average amateur player. So from that perspective, like it is definitely more like honestly, okay. I feel like there's a lot of bits of info that I don't get to finishing, which is kind of just the nature of a podcast. So when I was
That works
the
sometimes.
only person on SN, the reason I left was because like Riot didn't talk about their like 30K to each team thing yet, which
Right.
allegedly from something I saw on Twitter is not even paid out yet, which is interesting to
Yeah,
me.
they said it's like in progress or something.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I
we'll
think
see.
the LCS
over
EV
there.
report seemed like it wasn't 100% accurate, but also not 100% inaccurate. But I mean, that's what happened to Team Tony Top as well, right? Is they disbanded,
And then yeah,
and
like,
then this
like
all happened. Yeah,
it's just so sad. So I went to LiT Esports because they gave me like actual money. Like
Yeah.
like okay, the day I signed, I got more money than I got on SN the entire split. Even at that point, at that day, the day I signed, I got more money in my account than I did playing for SN for that many months. Okay. At the end of the day, that was just a rationale, bro. It was summer.
yeah. There's nothing wrong with
Like,
that.
it was just
Go for it.
looked so doom and gloom. Like I four of my teammates are just not on the team anymore. I'd be playing at the point I would accept that I'd be playing for pennies with 4 players that could be people I do or do not know. So I'm just like, like the people at LiT Esports, as in like the players around, like it was like messages and Coach Fawn and Elijah that were like kind of like the people that I was mainly talking to at the time. They were just telling me like, yeah, we can probably get Kizno on. Oh yeah, Sajid and Che are like good as hell. I'm like, okay, why not? Why not? And that is why I really like at that point why I like just abandoned ship.
Yeah.
Because from my perspective at that time, it was like so like bizarre and it did not seem like a good thing to just play on SN. Like that's kind of just what it was.
Yeah.
Which is completely fair.
So at this point, going from LiT Esports, if you were to promote, realistically, I don't even know if I would play. Like if I would actually like play an NACL the split following. I think it depends on if they do any changes to the format. If like revenue share is even real. Like I mean, I know it's just like some people are just getting it, some people are not. I have no idea what the accuracy of that is, right? It's kind of hard. I mean, I am in school currently. If I were to make NACL, I'd probably have to drop the amount of like coursework or maybe just take another semester off. It's like an obligation that's kind of hard to justify is all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If it becomes a more like convincing thing to do, then yeah, for sure. I wouldn't say like I wouldn't play right now for sure. It's definitely way harder to justify than like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, where do you go to school? Because you don't play collegiate, right? So
I go to school at USF.
okay,
Florida. University of South Florida is what it stands for.
cool. Nice.
Surely no one does anything harmful with that information.
No,
Of
yeah,
course.
Surely
we
not.
all, yeah, everyone goes to different schools, and that's it. And
Um,
also, yeah.
But yeah, actually kind of lost my train of thought. For real.
Well, yeah, kind of getting back on track here a little bit, and then we have a little fun game before we wrap things up. Just this promotion tournament as a whole. You're playing Mirage Alliance tomorrow. If you have any thoughts about them, you haven't played them in a best of 3. You did play them in a best of 1 at the start of summer, which was a very close game. And then just kind of the rest of the teams that are around. Like, what are your thoughts about how this tournament can go on? What are your thoughts on how it's gonna go?
I think we have a good matchup in the Mirage. Honestly, if you ask me what the basis on that is, I couldn't tell you. I just feel like our scrims versus them just feel good, and we have good draft plans going into them. Like, as in, like, I feel confident. Sometimes you do like draft planning, and then like there's like that one player that's kind of like, yeah, like they're on like a semi-comfortable champ or something, but it's like, I don't know, like the scenarios that we have planned out, I feel like we're doing a good job, and no one's like uncomfortable. Also going into it, personally, I just think they're the hardest team in the tournament as well. So like, if
In
we
answer
beat
to
them,
one of our headlines earlier that we talked about,
we
we
were
were
talking
discussing
about
whether or
that.
not we thought they were
You
the
guys
favorite
agree?
of the whole thing.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I do think they're the best team in the tournament, in my opinion. So if we beat them, which, even though I'm admitting that they're the best team in the tournament, I like think it's definitely winnable. Like, again, it's kind of what I was referencing earlier with SN versus like Taka or the other teams, right?
Yeah.
I think if we beat them, I think our path to promoting is like so much easier. There's too much momentum in beating like a team like them, and then it's also like path itself afterwards. Like teams are just worse. I mean, like no disrespect. It's just like you're going from the best team to worst teams, and then you have like 2 chances to bracket.
Yeah, if you win that first one, then it kind of is a good sign for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my impression on that. Oh,
Yeah.
something I did want to touch up on, because I didn't finish this. I was talking about
Yeah.
the end of 2020 or 2022 when NACL was first like brought up as a concept. I also got unlucky there because Gamsu ended up stealing my spot again. I'm serious. I was okay. Okay, there was like a hierarchy of like kind of blanking out all the teams. What were the all? Okay, it was like TL first. It was TL
Yeah.
first, AOE,
There's CLG,
think
FlyFam, and then Wildcard and
FlyFam.
Fear that were in there.
Yeah.
All I know was that at some point it was like very like close to reality that I would be on AOE, right?
Mhm.
Like I was like it seemed like I was like a likely choice. I think actually what the perspective there was is that I don't really like they wanted Surdy over me, but Surdy was considering TL first or what's it called? Or AOE. I think the hierarchy on what the teams wanted was like Faisal and Surdy were like contested, and then I was next after them from the available pool. So kind of felt bad as a player, but I'd be getting like the 3rd pick because there's the 3 teams, right?
Right.
So I would be getting a slot somewhere, Maybe I'm a little uneducated, but just from what I heard from like mingling, because I mean amateur is just a mingle space in the off season, right? From what I heard was like if Surdy were to decline TL first and go to AOE, there's like a decent chance I would get there. But regardless, AOE seemed like I was gonna get it, and TL, I think Surdy was like, I mean, I'm just putting words in his mouth technically, but from just, I mean, he ended up going to TL first. I would just assume he was like hovering towards it. I was just told like, yeah, if he goes to TL first, like chances are we will take you. And then like, just some point in the offseason is like, yeah, Gamsu's back on the table. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That was so cringe, man. That was
It's like a
also
sitcom,
cringe.
just playing over and over again.
Man.
It's the same trope.
Because playing on AoE would have been cool. Because at least
That's a good
like
team.
I would. Well, it's mainly because they had their whole thing with Golden Guardians, where they're
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
Station in LA, right? I feel like
That
that
would've
would
been
have
sick.
been like, okay, yes, it's like the passion of competing, but it's also there's so many. Okay, I've been in the space for a long time, but no one in esports has met me like in real life. I have not gone to a single event. That's kind of like interesting to think about.
Huh.
I haven't gone to an LCS Finals. I haven't gone to a LAN. I haven't gone to any of these, right? So that's like another aspect that like would have been insane if I got that.
Yeah.
I would just see people that like I've been
Yeah.
close friends
We-
with or like best friends with for like years that like
Yeah.
I just haven't gotten the opportunity to see.
We experienced
You know?
something similar when we went to Los Angeles for CeeLo Finals, actually being there and everything. So, dude, that
You gotta do it sometime.
you gotta, yeah. Dragoon,
At
when
some
are,
point,
when
gotta
are
get
we
your stuff
meeting
out
up? Like,
Maybe the next finals, man. Maybe the
Alright.
next finals.
Yeah.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dragoon, before we let you go, we know that you play a lot of odd things in the top lane every once in a while in competitive, and maybe us as some new solo queue players who want some new picks need some help on why we should play certain champions. So we're gonna pull a couple of champs that have been prevalent in your competitive history, and you have to give us 30-second pitch as to why it's gonna be a good idea for us to play it. Does that make sense?
Got it.
All right. Hawk, you want to start us off here?
all right, yeah. So, I mean, we talked about it earlier. Dragoon, you're the Darius one trick. 30 seconds. Why are we playing this?
First of all, I cannot believe my record's 24/7.
It's
on
crazy.
That. I mean, hey, that
That's all-
speaks for itself. That
That's
speaks for
fucking
itself.
crazy.
Listen,
Yeah.
if you want to just stat check champs, sometimes if enemy picks a tank, just pick Darius. Their life will be miserable. They're gonna leave the game by 10 minutes. Sometimes you want to just flex on everybody and just Q flash and then dunk 5 people. Hey, I mean, I'm telling you right now, in terms of League of Legends champions, there's probably only like 3 other champs that gives you the same adrenaline rush as getting your passive off and killing everybody. I mean,
Love it.
Do you remember
not
this
dumb,
moment
bro.
right here as well? The solo kill game
I
number
mean,
2.
The solo kill was the coolest. I mean, I just knew the matchup better than him.
Dude, that was the
The
that was
solo
one
kill
of
was. I remember my cons was like get shit on. Like I was so happy that I like killed him here because I thought I completely shat on him.
that's one of my favorite moments from competitive. That specific solo kill right there, and yeah, really cool. 24/7, all day, carrying on this champ. All right.
All right.
Our next
Number 2.
pick. Let's see. What do we got here, Hawk?
Oh, we got the Alawi. The record, slightly less impressive, but it's still a
The
signature.
record is a little sad. The record.
Do you remember
is a
this
little
moment
sad.
where you missed your cue?
Oh my god! No, not this one. Honestly, listen. Hey, do not look at the win-loss score. I'm trying to make sure Alawi doesn't get picked because the champ's OP and it's cancer to play against. I don't want to play against Alawi. I'm the one who bears cancers onto others. Okay, that's why I play Alawi. Okay, this champ is so obnoxious. Even in these losses, I swear the enemy team cannot play because I exist. It's like the game gets stretched out another 10 minutes because I'm in the game.
I think
Alawi,
you won this game actually.
I did win this game.
Yeah.
I remember like we got Nash because like I killed a Nico or something. I think
Something like that. Yeah.
I remember it was like near top lane tier 1. I mean,
Oh, yeah?
listen, Alawi is just the biggest anti melee champ ever. It's fun, tentacles. It gets spicy. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, we got just dunk everybody. We got anti-melee, spicy tentacles. One more on the docket for you. The Mordekaiser, the other juggernaut.
Mordekaiser.
Also an impressive win-loss
Honestly,
here.
I did not think my win-loss on Mord would be this high, actually. I thought it'd be worse. I mean, honestly, Mordekaiser has to be one of my favorite champs to play, like from a thematic perspective. He's not super entertaining. There's some interesting things you can do with him. A small mechanic people might not know is you can ER on him, which sounds like, oh, obviously, ER. But your ult actually has this is like the dumbest pitch ever. I'm like talking about super hyper specific mechanic.
Yeah, you can either R. Yeah.
His ult slows you by 75% for a quarter of a second. So on a lot of champs that don't have dashes or they just dashed, like Mord E is a hard ass skill shot to land. Like it's on your enemy to dodge,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes if you ER, it's guaranteed to hit. It's a small mechanic. But regardless, have you ever ulted as Mordekaiser and you just walk towards a puny little Yordle, or just walk with somebody and you know they're gonna die? It's the most satisfying feeling in the game, bro. Like you ult an 80 carry and just slowly walk at them and they know they're dead. Best feeling ever, bro. Like, don't you love the best thing in League of Legends is making sure someone doesn't have fun. Okay?
Yeah,
Mordekaiser has the biggest fuck you button in the entire game. Tell me you wouldn't want to play the champ with the biggest fuck you button.
I will say, as somebody who plays a decent amount of top lane, I hate playing as all three of these champions. So you've done a good job. Hawk, there's one more. I just have to run it by. I know we're running low on time, but
Yeah, sure.
Dragoon, you have to explain. What the hell is this Nasus pick, man? What's going on over here? Can you explain this tech?
Okay, listen. This tech started because I was looking at Nasus. Okay, this tech originally started because I saw a Whippo VOD on YouTube where he played this versus Kennen with Airy, and it looked like the most unplayable thing I've ever seen in my life. And then I was looking at Nasus's wiki. I'm like, why is this a thing? Why can't you just max E and cheat laning phase would be useful? I realized looking at Nasus's numbers, his W, E, and R abilities are so broken that the reason why Nasus sucks as a champion is picking him puts you at a loss versus enemy champs. If Nasus is even with like no stacks, he's more useful than like 50% of top lane champs. I'm not even kidding you, bro. His R is the biggest steroid in the game, like without a doubt. Like, especially if you have solo lane XP, you're getting level 11 soon. Like, it's the biggest steroid in the game. I'll quiz you guys. How much armor do you think Nasus E shreds at rank 5?
As E?
It's like
How much
it's
armor?
it's a percent shred, right? It's like
Yes, it
it's
is
like
a percent
40% or something crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 45%.
Damn.
45%. Okay. If you go Everfrost and you go to CDR build and you go EW max, your Wither has 100% uptime at rank 5. I'm not even kidding.
That's
That's
crazy.
like
There might be like
Yeah.
a 0.3-second gap if you're not running like CDR rune or like Transcendence, which is greedy. You have 100% uptime on Wither, bro. Plus Everfrost, people cannot move. Like, okay, it's like the ultimate front to back champion. You have the biggest tank steroid in the game, which is his ult. It just gives you so much armor and MR and health, plus gargoyles. And you're just Eing tanks for 45% of their armor, and they're withered
God.
in your E. How can you lose a front to back on Nasus?
So you're kind of like playing support in a way.
Yes,
You're
it
kinda
is utility.
debuffing
It is a
people.
utility pick.
Like if
do
you were a
not
support
pick-
player, would you be a support Nasus truther? Is that what I'm hearing? Like
Yes. Kalista. No one's picking Kalista in my support Nasus games, bro. Absolutely no one.
oh, I love it.
All right.
Love it. Well, Dragoon, before we let you go, this has been a long one, but you've had so much amazing insight. It's really been great to talk to you. We'll open up the floor to you. Anything that you want to, plug or whatever. You're talking about your streams a little bit. Anything like that. Anyone you want to shout out. Anything else you want to say ahead of tomorrow's matches? The floor is yours.
One, I'll thank you guys for inviting me on here. Always, it's a pleasure to spend the last like hour or so, 50-ish minutes. I don't know how long, honestly.
So one of the longer
Yeah,
episodes. we've ever
It's
done.
definitely one longer. I
it's a
think it's
good
over
one,
an
yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
I think. Obviously a pleasure to be here. In terms of shout outs, I mean, honestly, it's just the amateur community in general. I have like a lot of close friends here, just teammates or just random people that maybe I played on a team with like 3 years ago and I still talk to them. It's nice. It's a nice community to be in sometimes. Sometimes it can be a little cringe, but for the most part, if you're friends with the good apples, it's a great community to be in.
Yeah.
Anybody who's been my fan and watches my games like religiously or just, is my fan. Yeah, they're typing the Dragoon smash copy pasta. I appreciate it. It always brings a smile on my face.
All right. Thank you so much, Dragoon. We're going to wish you the best of luck. This episode will hopefully be up before your matchup against Mirage Alliance. If you are watching this, you can go over to twitch.tv/Challengers League or LCS_Challengers, I should say, to watch that. Thank you so much, Dragoon. And we're going to cut back to our outro. Thank you very much to Dragoon. We actually can't talk about what he said because we're recording this before we go talk to him, but hopefully it was a good time. I'm super excited to watch him and the rest of LiT.
Yeah, I'm sure it's Dragoon. How bad of a time could it be? It's gonna be lit.
Nice.
If you hated that joke, take what we said with a grain of salt. Follow us on all of our socials. That's Salty Runback Pod on all platforms. SaltyRunbackPod@gmail.com if you want to reach out to us. We've probably got at least one more episode left, I would assume, to post more promotion tournament. Then after that, we'll see what happens. Maybe Grapes, we could pull out a special episode before the disguised event.
Yeah, there's things
NA
to do.
Dev. Yeah, there's stuff to talk about. But either way, you'll see more of us. But it's the last official event of the season. Be sure to tune into the promotion tournament happening all week. This week, that guy's going to be on the show. He's going to do an amazing job.
Day one.
Watch CBLOL Grand Finals on September 9th. That's also going to be really good. And yeah, I've been Hawk. That's been Grapes. Have a great rest of your night.